What is up? All right, we gotta check and see if this new situation is going live. Are we going live? Okay, I think we're going live. We are trying out some technology. And Emily, are you tuned in and you can see me? Oh no, you're working on stuff. Okay, don't mind the person behind the curtain over here. Hello. How is everybody? Let's see if I can see who's tuning in. Y'all type in the chat where you're tuning in from. This is Rockstars Unplugged. We're back after a little bit of a summer break. And I have missed y'all. I've missed y'all in this group. It's been 6 weeks or so, and a lot has been happening. We just had a retreat over the last few days. Emily Steeman is still here. She's sitting right over here in my kitchen area. She just told me, she goes, I need to come here more often. She goes, good things happen to me whenever I come here. She just sold a $2,400 package. She didn't have to be present for. She sold it over the phone after having just raised her rates. And her team member is going tomorrow while she's going to be here with me. And she's been in Momentum and Team Building Blueprint for almost a year now. So it's really exciting to see the progression and growth. So I would love to hear from those of you who are tuning in, where you imagine yourself 1 year from now. Have you thought that far? Or do you sometimes just feel like you're on this roller coaster where you can't see past your nose? You just feel distracted and like, what in the world in my life is going on? Let me see if I can get my comments up so I can hear from y'all. Okay, Samuel says I'm live. Okay, awesome. I'm trying new things here. Trying new things. I feel a little bit shaky, kind of like, how do I see comments? Because StreamYard and Facebook no longer talk the same way. And I want to be able to connect with y'all. Okay, so type in the chat where you are tuning in from. Oh, there we go. Now I can see it. Okay. Emily says, hi, Holly, from the other side of the room. Little Elm, Dallas, Texas. Pam, that's not far from where I grew up. Davetta, hi, beautiful. Nasli with the dancing lady. Yes. Oh, this is so happy. This makes me so happy to know that I can see y'all's comments here. So where do you imagine yourself in a year? I'm curious. Where do you imagine yourself? Do you imagine yourself working all the jobs yourself? Do you imagine yourself getting some help? Does that seem cool to you or not cool? I'm curious. And also, what do you imagine for your family? You know, recently I was talking with some of the rock stars, and I loved this phrase that they said, I want to be able to say an easy yes to my kids. Whenever my kids ask, can we do this or can we go here? And sometimes you just want to surprise your kids with something without them even asking. And you don't want to feel like money is so tight that you can't go have these fun adventures and these fun trips, right? Especially summertime, you're wanting to soak up the sun. I've been soaking up the sun here in South Carolina. We went jet skiing on Friday night. Are you a daredevil? Because I am a daredevil when it comes to jet skiing. I have no fear. Just turn that throttle, full throttle, baby. 90 miles an hour. It's like, here we go. It's very therapeutic to just get out on the water, feel the sun on your skin, and just scream if you want to, right? So that's one of my favorite summer adventures. I live right near the lake. What are some of the summer adventures that y'all like to do? I'm curious. Type to me in the chat. What are some of the summer adventures you like to do, your family likes to do? Are you a water person? Are you more of a indoor museum person? You're like, just give me the AC. I live in Texas and I don't want to be outside. You know, maybe that's you. I grew up in Texas and I do not love the summer heat. I'm like changing clothes like 4 times a day because I don't like it when my clothes are super sweaty for long periods of time. So today, as we are getting into this and I'm learning more about y'all with some of your summer adventures, that you have. Oh, Pam, I grew up east of Dallas in a little suburb called Mesquite, Texas. Um, Emily, this is so funny seeing your comment here. Aaron says, enjoy my backyard, go visit friends in the US. Yes. Grace says, easy, yes, for sure. So here's the thing. I got a DM last night, and it's somebody who has big goals in her business. And she reached out and she said, hey, can I learn more about your business coaching and what's included? And by the way, if we haven't met, I'm Holly Sutherland. I'm the founder of Rockstar Organizers, and I'm a full-time business coach specifically for professional organizers. This is what I have done for the last 17 years. Now I coach organizers full-time, and I help you to go all in and get steady 10K months, only working 2 days a week with clients. You know, Emily just had that big sale, and she doesn't even have to be there for it. Her teammate is going to be there. So that's one of the ways that you can make more money and not have to be there, and you can still have time with your kids. In fact, I got a message Sunday from one of my Team Building Blueprint members in Jerusalem, and she says, hey, Holly, just reaching out to tell you, since our meeting back in February, when you helped me revamp the packages and my pricing, I've sold my largest package almost once every month since March and have been hitting an average of 10K consistently with the smaller packages I've been selling alongside. The best part, and this just totally warmed my heart, is that I have loads of free time to be with my kids and hang out in nature and do the things I love. I am so grateful. And I'm like, that's where it's at. That's what all the organizers want, is we want to help people. We want to have a meaningful impact, but we don't want to be spending all our time doing it, because we want to be doing things like spending time with the kids and having adventures in nature and doing the things we love, right? But sometimes you're like this other person who sent me a DM last night that said, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. Some months are 10,000, some months are 1,000. And she wants to be at 20,000 a month. And so I just said, well, that's awesome. Like, what do you think is the missing piece for you to get from there to there? Like from roller coaster to 20K months. And maybe your goal is different. Maybe your goal is like, I would be happy with taking 2K home a month. Like, that's what my family needs. And sometimes you can't see, or you don't want to have these big, huge goals because that feels overwhelming, and that's okay. But whatever your version of steady and consistent is, there's 5 things I'm going to talk to you about today that are going to help you get off that roller coaster. And the interesting thing is, it all comes back to the basics and mastering the basics. Even when you want to grow to the next level, you're just adding some more people to your team, but you're still mastering the basics over and over and over. And so these are the 5 things I'm going to talk to you about today. So if you're interested to get my free guide on how to roller coaster proof your business, I want you to type the word momentum below. I want you to type the word momentum, and I will be sure to reach out and send it to you in a DM. I've been putting this together and putting together some signs of, like, are y'all kind of a, what's the word? Stalkers. I was talking about this with TBB. You're kind of like stalkers with like, what do other people talk about? What's working for other people? Well, this guide is the ultimate stalker guide, because it is screenshots of comments and DMs that organizers have been sending me for years. I get to hear all y'all's dirt. I'm a safe place for the dirt. I will not judge you. I have probably thought that and worse, done that and worse. And it took me about 10 times as long to succeed as it does a lot of my students. So I've tried all the things. I've failed at all the things. I've learned a few things that work, and I've helped a lot of organizers find some things that work too. So safe place to just let your stalker out. And, you know, people have confessed that they've stalked me over the years. And the thing is that we stalk because we care, right? We're like, I care about how does this thing work? So if you want the guide where you can stalk other people's DMs and screenshots, I just want to hear some true confessions in the chat. If you're a stalker, just put I'm a stalker in the chat. If you are a stalker and you like to kind of poke around and get the skinny, maybe you're just quiet for a few months before you come out of lurking and hiding. Maybe you've been in this group for 6 months and you have not come out of lurking or hiding. You've just kind of been like, what's going on? This is your perfect chance to come clean. Just type I'm a stalker. Grace Ramon, you better be typing that in all caps. president of the Stalker Club. Yeah, she has owned up to this before, so I'm not outing her on anything. So in this guide that I've created for you, that I'm going to be walking you through today, on 5 dials to roller coaster proof your business, it's the 5 things that you really want to consider, and some of the symptoms that show you that that thing is not really on point like you might have thought, right? Okay, Pam, way to go. I'm a stalker. Yes, Grace says, come out and join the Stalker Club. Aaron says, totally a creeper. I'm a stalker. OMG, yes. I see some of y'all's comments, momentum. Okay, I'll reach out to y'all for sure. I'll get you this guide. So this guide is like a 30-page guide. I don't play small. And it is a walkthrough of what it looks like whenever you are on the roller coaster from an expert's eyes. So you might feel like you're on the roller coaster for one reason. So for example, when this person texted me last night and said, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster, and I said, what do you think would be the secret sauce to getting from roller coaster to 20K months? And she said, more money invested in marketing. How many of y'all think that that is, what's the word? Valid. You think it's valid? More money in marketing. I want to put more money towards my marketing. Because obviously, if people don't see me and they're not hiring me, it's because I haven't put enough money into marketing. How many of you think that's valid? Just type valid in the chat if you think, yeah, I've thought that before. I have thought before that I just need to put more money in marketing. And then you're like, oh, but I don't really want to be a marketer. I just want to organize, but I wish people could just find me. That's how I felt for a long time. I wish people could just find me. I don't want to have to make all these social media posts. Take me like 2 hours to make a single post, and then nobody even likes it. Like, what the heck? What a waste of time, right? Or you go to a networking meeting and you get all cute and you do your hair, you put your lipstick on, and then you start getting sweaty palms and you just don't even know what to say at this networking meeting. And you just get frozen in your tracks. So you say you want to spend money in marketing, but even some of the basic stuff like social media and networking, you just don't even know what to say or do. If that's relatable, just type relatable in the chat. This was my life for so long. So I kind of know it's relatable, but I want to know if it's relatable, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. Type relatable if you can relate to that. Okay. Devetta says valid. Awesome. All right. So what do y'all think the number one thing is? I wonder if I can share my screen. I don't think I can do that when I'm on Facebook Live. This is kind of tripping me up a little bit. Let me see here. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay. I'm on StreamYard, but it's on Facebook, but I think I might be able to share through StreamYard, so hang with me here. All right. Ooh, it worked. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so smart right now. Okay. So this is the guide that you're going to be getting, and it's the 5 dials. The number one thing is the dreams and the fears. So here's what it sounds like whenever your dreams and your fears are not really clear. You're not really clear on what you're doing. You don't know how to respond whenever somebody says, what do you want? Maybe sometimes when business gets either too slow or too chaotic, you have this feeling of just wanting to burn it all to the ground. Anybody? Has anybody here ever struggled with undercharging? Like you feel nervous to charge more. You almost want to underprice it because you think they're going to say no. And so you just kind of go low, but then you end up kind of resenting yourself later. That's typically because you don't have enough connection to your own dreams, or you're letting your fears run the show. We went deep into this at the Dream Team Challenge last week. So type 1, 2, or 3 if any of these are relatable to you. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Number 1 is not knowing how to respond when people say, what do you want? Type 1 if that's you. Number 2, burning it all to the ground whenever things get too slow or too chaotic. And number 3 is self-sabotaging or undercharging. Any people pleasers in the house? You just can't say no. So this is going to be the first thing to dial in. And this could go very deep. But on a really simple note, this is what it might sound like whenever you do let your dreams fly a little bit. Some of you are like, I want to be on HGTV, girl. I want some handsome muscle men to haul off loads as a service whenever we do decluttering projects. I wish I was profitable enough to pay my team top rates, give them bonuses. And I love this one. Take my team on a team builder cruise vacay. That's when you're letting your dreams fly a little bit. So this is the number 1 dial, is for you to truly get honest with yourself. Type that in the chat. Get honest with myself. It's time for me to get honest with myself. And it goes both ways. It goes with dreams and fears. I'm going to get honest with myself about the things that I'm dreaming about and not feel ashamed that that's the thing that I want. But also get honest with myself with the things I'm scared of, because when we just sedate them and they're at this low level, dull roar, it's secretly running your life, and it doesn't really let your business take off because those things are not dialed in just right. Okay. Grace says, get honest with myself. Devetta says 2, and Pam says all of the above at various points. Thank you for being honest, Pam. Texas girl being honest. Number 2. You ready for number 2? Oh, wait. Actually, before we do that, this is one of the organizers who joined my program 5 years ago when I first started Rockstar Organizers. And she came to me, and she was in this perfectionistic, people-pleasing loop. And she wasn't making any sales. People were telling her no. And I could feel her anxiety, like coming off the Zoom. So I could only imagine what her clients were feeling. So I gave her an assignment to reflect back, and this was probably about 2 or 3 years ago. She joined my program 5 years ago, but then even after 2 years, she was struggling. So I think this was around 2022. My challenge to her was to ask herself, what am I attracting and how am I showing up in the world? And this is what she said: scared like I'm going to be found out at any moment. Staying safe and secure by only putting myself out there a little bit. It's wrong to try too much or want too much success or money or attention. Don't be an attention hog. She's scared of her own success, like it's going to drive her mom or her friends further away, that she's going to be too good for them. So she's still holding on to people-pleasing and perfectionistic tendencies, but how to let it go. She just didn't know. And yet I'm desperate for clients, so I act desperate to make them happy, book them ASAP, and rush them through the consult process, showing up with a scarcity mindset. Never enough time, money, and attention. Even writing this, I feel I'm showing my shallow and prideful side. So not only did she write this, she started judging herself for this. But I see this and I'm like, that's a woman who's honest with herself. She's about to start going places. And she did pretty soon after this. She started going places. She got out of her own way. But that's somebody who's honest about her fears. She dialed that in and said, you know what? I am scared. I am scared that I'm going to feel found out, and then I'm going to have too much success, and then I'm going to be alone, basically. She's like, I'm going to be too good for other people. So if y'all can relate to that, type relate. Yep. This is so common. It's one of the dials that a lot of organizers just want to ignore because they just want to do. They're just a doer. They're just a goer and a doer and a shaker and a mover. Number 2, the niche. This is the number 2 dial that is a very counterintuitive strategy. And here's what it sounds like when it's not dialed in. This is what it looks like and how it shows up in your business. You don't know what to say on your website to get clients. You're asking yourself, like, what words do I say? And a lot of times I see a lot of organizers putting all these fancy words up. And I'm like, oh, sister, just bring it back to earth. We do not need SAT words on your website. But they tend to think the fancier the better. And then they wonder why they don't get clients. And I'm like, you're too stuffy. Don't be so stuffy. Number 2, not knowing what to say. Again, at social media, on social media posts or at those networking meetings where you feel kind of nervous. Maybe you're introverted. Are you an introvert type introvert or extrovert? Which one you are? I'm an introvert who's outgoing and loves people and needs a few breaks in the day. Number 3, whenever your niche is not dialed in, you can't really articulate what problems you solve. We happened upon this in the Dream Team Challenge last week, where people couldn't really tell me what problems they solved. They just knew what solutions they brought. We love to avoid the pain of ourselves and of other people. We just want to fix it. So when you can't articulate the problems that you solve and you just think to yourself, I can help anyone. Like anyone needs an organizer. I could do this. I could do that. I could help the baby boomers. I could help the busy professionals. I could help the realtors. I could help the young moms. But then you stay on this roller coaster. That right there, sister, is the problem, is thinking I can help anyone. I could say a lot about this, but I'm going to keep going. However, when the niche is on point, this is what somebody posted in my group. She said, thanks, Holly, for the niching talk. I've really been wrestling with this. I have finally decided, in all caps, I really don't want to do the projects that require lots of product shopping. I've given it my best shot, and I'm done. I was literally walking around the Container Store this morning, and I felt so out of place. It sounds weird to say as an organizer. I really want to attract clients who are overwhelmed and need help with decluttering, and then simple organizing after the fact. I don't mind shopping a little along the way if needed. I have my dream client right now, and I want more of her. Did y'all see that? I have my dream client right now. I want more of her. In fact, Emily said that the other day whenever this client called and wants to pay her over the phone, and she's sending her teammate. When you know who your dream client is, you're totally okay with being done with all the other stuff. You know, kind of on a vulnerable note, I'm in this dating process of doing my best to meet different types of men, but I have honestly decided I am done meeting certain types of men who are not entrepreneurial. I'm done. I want an entrepreneur. I need an entrepreneur. If he's not entrepreneurial, it will never work. And that's kind of what Melanie was expressing when she said this. She said, I'm done. I've given it my best shot. I'm done. And she also used a really good word, decided. And she also used another really good word, don't want. I really don't want. But so many people are afraid to admit what they really don't want because they're so afraid they're not going to make money. So they just do all the things they don't want to do. Well, no wonder you're on a roller coaster because you got no motivation to get up and do it because you don't want to do it. So that's what it sounds like when your niche is not on point. Number 3, the number 3 dial, pricing. Pricing. So is this resonating so far? I'm curious. Is this resonating with you so far? The 3 signs that pricing is not dialed in that I see all the time on organizers' websites. Number 1 is that there's an hourly rate listed with like this 3-hour minimum, or no prices listed at all on the website. Or this other thing of making these big packages and trying to think, well, what could I do to seal the deal? So I'm going to make this big package, but then I'm going to discount it. So it's only like $45 an hour instead of the $75 I really want to make. And so let's say they bought 40 hours and they get it for $45 an hour instead of like 10 hours at $75 an hour, or just hourly for 3 hours minimum. And we are famous overthinkers at this whole pricing thing. I hear it all the time. And I just want to say, stop it all. You're leaving a whole bunch of money on the table. You're just lighting a match to the money and you're just setting it on fire. How are you going to take your kids on adventures and say yes when you're just lighting some money on fire and just throwing it out? You know, you're not. Or the other thing that keeps organizers on a roller coaster when it comes to pricing, and they don't get to even steady 3 to 5K months, even though they want more than that, but they're at this 1,000 and then they might have a really good 10,000. But that steadiness is when their pricing is still in limbo. They're like, well, I could try this, or I could do this, or have 16 different packages, or I could include this, or maybe not this. And if you're exhausted just listening to me talking about this, and you're exhausted because you've tried all this and you've got notebooks full of scribbles and post-it notes full of scribbles, yes, I do too. I did until I discovered something that worked. In 2017, I created a method that has not only worked for me, but for hundreds of other organizers who have worked with me. So when the pricing is on point, it sounds like this. Implementing the package pricing you recommended was one of the best business decisions I've ever made. Another person said, I took a client through the whole process of becoming a client, and I sold her the largest package. It was a piece of pie. Emily, was it a piece of pie selling that $2,400 package? She told me at 10:38, she goes, I have a consult call. And I'm like, oh, girl, go get it. And so she goes in my backyard. She comes in at 10:44, 6 minutes later. Maybe it's 10:46. It could have been 8 minutes, but I think it was 6. Yeah, she goes, it was 6. Yeah. I said, well, that was quick. How'd it go? She goes, I sold her the package, the one that I just raised my rates to. And I'm like, girl, get it. Well, then she got to do all these updates. I got this extra computer she's using. So she got to do all these updates on Dubsado. She's putting some stuff in. And I just randomly said, oh, I have this idea. What if you do this thing? And I told her this strategy, and she did it. This person who had just said no to the 30-hour package and wanted the 15, when she did this little thing that I told her to do, they picked the 30 after all. And it's her dream client that she wants more of. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't make this stuff up. I was kind of proud of myself because it's not even a strategy that I really have come up with in the past. I just kind of it just came to me and I was like, oh, try this. And I love Emily because she just tries my ideas. And then they work. I'm like, oh, that makes me happy because it's working for you. And you get more money and you get to plan a trip with your kids now, It's like the best. And I love this part. She says, I'm doing the happy dance just like Holly said we would. Sold the largest package. It was a piece of pie. What's y'all's favorite type of pie? I really like my mom's coconut pie with like that. Is it meringue on top? Is that what it's called? It's like fluffy stuff and kind of a little bit toasty. Oh, she makes really good coconut pie, really good chocolate pie. Her mom was a really good pie maker. Rumor has it that's part of why my daddy came around, because he liked Joy Bell's pies. If you live in the South, they are serious about their pies. So those are my two favorite types of pie. But I don't know why they call it easy as pie, because piece of pie, I'm like, it's not really easy to make all that stuff. All right, so back to pricing. So when it's on point, this is what it sounds like. This is a DM I got probably about 6 months ago. And she has my training on this. And she said, what's standing out to me is what you shared in part 2 and 3 on the tactics and bonuses. Overall, it makes me really excited because having packages and pricing like this, here's the thing, positions me to stand out from other local organizers. Nobody locally offers anything even close to this. I feel like I got my hands on a secret formula. So this is the phrase, positions me to stand out. So what positions you to stand out? You are unique. God made you very unique as an organizer. Nobody else is like you. But what makes you stand out? Or are you just trying to be like everybody else, but because you're so vanilla and boring and you're talking about all these like SAT words on your website, nobody connects with you. So you're not making any money and you're staying on this roller coaster, but then you get lucky and you get a referral and then you're like, oh, I must have done something right. But then you feel like you just got lucky. And then you feel like you're going to get found out. And how do I get lucky again? And you're just in this like madness of a mental cycle. And you feel like you're not a good organizer if people are not finding you, but really you just don't have these 5 things dialed in yet because nobody's ever told you. And nobody told me these either. I learned all this the hard way. So here's a little formula for you for pricing. Take a screenshot of this if you want to. This is a 100K formula. And if you were to charge hourly, even though I don't really recommend charging hourly, I have a whole pricing model. If you were to charge that amount on the left, and then you go to the far right, and if you were to work that many hours a week, you plus 1 assistant, at least one assistant, you could bring in $100K per year. Very simple. Charge $100 an hour per person per hour, work 10 and a half hours a week, you an assistant. That's 21 billable hours a week. That's 85 billable hours a month. That's $100K per year. It works. But the thing we got to remember with pricing is that people will pay it. You are worth it. Y'all know you work hard. I was doing a job for my neighbor the other day, training the girls who came for the retreat. I'm laying on the ground with my shop vac. I told my trainer this morning, Joan, I was laying on that kitchen ground. I was like, it's kind of like you had me laying on this mat right here, had me working out. She goes, yep, it's functional movement, And I probably would have been sore for days, but I've been working out a little bit and doing some stretching and exercising. So I was sore for several hours, but I feel fine now. It's been a couple days. So I don't know why I got off on that, but just remember that you are worth it. Sometimes there's this mental story that you're not, or it's kind of this identity thing that you kind of compare your hourly rate to other people in your family. And so you're kind of like scared to put the prices on your website because, what if they see that I charge $100 an hour? They're going to think I'm like too good for them or hoity toity or like, who do I think I am? I dealt with all that. And the reality is, after a few people pay you your new rate at the new package price, it's so much easier to believe because you have proof. So all you got to really do is ask for it and believe that you're worth it. And this is a conversation I'm having with myself because I'm making a big proposal this week for a project. And literally, as I was putting this together last night, it was like honey for my own soul, like learning from myself again, from my past lessons of when I wrote this. And it's easier said than done to know that you're worth it and that people are going to pay it and that all you have to do is ask for it and believe you're worth it. I could say a lot about this. I'm going to go into the fourth dial, which is sales, but I do want to say one thing that just came to my mind. One of my sales coaches, Nikki, she says, the sale is far more dependent on the attitude of the seller than the buyer. So you think you're going in and their attitude of whether they want to buy from you or not, and you get hung up on kind of being perfect, looking perfect, saying the perfect words. You think that's going to be the thing that like makes them decide yes or no, but it's actually far more dependent upon your own state, your own internal state that you're managing when you're showing up during that sales conversation. So the sale is far more dependent on the attitude of the seller than the buyer. So I'll leave you with that. All right, sales. Y'all tell me if this is resonating with you. Type resonating in the chat if it's resonating with you so far. This is number 4. We've gone through 3 dials. You can see where we are in the process. And here's a few signs that sales are not dialed in. People ghost you. Anybody ever get ghosted? Put a little ghost emoji in the chat if you ever get ghosted. Or maybe sometimes leads fall through the cracks. You got somebody's name, they started a conversation, and then a week later you're like, oh my gosh, I never even followed up with them. They asked me a question, they were interested, and I just totally let it fall through the cracks. Typically means you don't have a good sales process in place, or you don't really know the sales language to say of like what to ask next to lead them to the next step. You don't know how to keep it moving. Or let's say you get all the way getting ready to close the deal, and then you say these words, let me know. Don't be saying that. Don't be saying, let me know. Don't expect other people to follow up with you. Ask them, set the time, and have that closing conversation. But this is going to sabotage your sale when you just say, let me know. All right, this is what it sounds like when sales are on point. This was one of my students who said, I just sold my 30-hour package over the phone and email to an out-of-town client. It's going to be a week-long project, 4 hours out of town, all expenses paid, and the client didn't even bat an eye. That's my favorite part. The client didn't even bat an eye. And this kind of all goes back to this right here, which is believing that you're worth it and asking for it. And a lot of times they're like, don't really care about the price. They just want the job done, right? All right, let's move on to visibility. So visibility is the fifth momentum dial. Signs that visibility is not dialed in. I see this all the time, and it's just like nails on the chalkboard of my coaching soul. I see an organizer post a 10% discount, running a flash sale on social media. When you book by Friday, you get 10% off. There's not a lot of thought or intention to it. And I know, because I've been there before, it's a painful place to be because you're actually hurting for cash. And you're like, I'm just trying to do something, and something is better than nothing. And that's kind of the mindset. Well, something's better than nothing. The problem is it doesn't really attract the right type of people. It trains people to wait for discounts for your services. And it honestly looks kind of desperate, whether you know it or not. And it doesn't work sustainably. So it keeps you on the roller coaster. You can't just get in this pinch, throw a discount out, hoping that somebody's going to bite, and then actually expect that you're going to like working with that client, because typically the people who are waiting for a discount or attracted to discounts are going to be the one who nitpick at some stuff later. Don't ask me how I know. The other thing is when you really don't have a consistent visibility plan, you're just kind of showing, splashing everywhere, like, you know, the whole spaghetti at the wall method, which works for a little bit because you're just trying to see what works and what sticks. But I have a very specific method that I teach in my program called Momentum that has a specific plan for you to stay consistent in the same stuff over and over. So you're not just like a spaghetti noodle, literally. And another thing that I see that shows that the visibility is not really dialed in is this hiding that happens where organizers don't show their face. If I go to their social media, their profile shows a logo instead of their pretty smiling face. Or if I scroll on Instagram, I don't even know what they look like. So I would imagine that clients would not want to work with them if they don't even know what they look like. Like, we do a very private service going into people's homes. But when it is on point, this is Elva who worked with me. She said, I've been bombarded by inquiries and it feels like the floodgates have been opened. I don't think you understand how much I struggled for a whole year trying to convert people over the phone and getting them to fill out my form and send me pictures. Felt like pulling teeth. Now I've got people lining up to work with me. Tears of joy. This is what it sounds like when you get your visibility on point. I remember going through her website with her, word by word by word by word. This was about 5 years ago. And it's been beautiful to see her growth. So without all of these working at the same time, it's hard to keep momentum, right? And so it's really a matter, let me stop my screen share. It's really a matter of finding a starting place. And if you try to turn all 5 dials at one time, it's probably going to be like, I'm thinking of like a DJ, like turning a bunch of stuff. He's kind of got to tweak one thing at a time and then tweak another one. Okay, did that sound fix it? Did that sound fix it? It's going to be like a cacophony. Speaking of SAT words, that was a good use of an SAT word, Holly. It's going to be a cacophony of spaghetti noodles everywhere. What if you try to change it all at one time? So you're like, well, how do I change one thing? And I'm going to recommend that pricing is the place to start. And I've got it all laid out for you. And for those of you who are really resonating with this, I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of details right now, but I'm hoping that you can see the big picture and that you can know that someone has already gone before you to lay all this out for you. So I want to invite you to the next step for those of you who this is resonating with, and that is to work with me on your business. So I have a group program. I have 2 group programs. The one that's opening up next week is called Momentum. So it's a 12-week step-by-step program. We do it as a group. I walk you through it. and you've got everything laid out in a course, you've got a community, and you've got me as a coach. And it's the perfect cocktail to help you dial all these things without being on a roller coaster. Now, kind of like an organizing project, sometimes it can get messier before it gets better, and you're changing a few things at one time. But knowing that you have a proven process to fall back on, and you have somebody to ask questions to, and you have a group of people who are using the same method and it's working for them, it's going to give you a lot of safety and security to know that even if it's messy for a few weeks or 4 or 5 weeks, it's going to get better. So typically what happens when people change their pricing to the way that I recommend and they truly implement it, they will double or triple their income within about 60 to 90 days. No lie. I've seen it happen so many times. If that's you, just go ahead and type that's me, because maybe some of y'all are watching. I've got pages and pages and pages of testimonials of people who this has happened to. So the thing is, you got to be ready, and you got to decide, and you've got to commit to this. So for those of you who are considering committing to this, and you're considering deciding, you're considering going all in, but maybe right now you're at this like $1,500 to $2,000 a month mark. Maybe sometimes you have a happy 5K month. Maybe you've had a crazy 10K month, but kind of you're hanging out between maybe 1,000 to 2,000. And you just know that you're not going to do it alone. You just like, I need to make some drastic changes, and I know I'm not going to do this alone. I know I want some support. Then I want to invite you to one of our interest calls this week. So on Thursday, I have 2 interest calls, depending on what time works for you, at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. It's going to be a small group interest call. And so I've got spots for 6 people in each one. I want it to be intimate. So this is for people who are serious about taking the next step, investing. There's a quick form for you to fill out beforehand to kind of gauge like where you're at. Is this going to be a good fit for you? No pressure interest call, just for a time for you to get a chance to hear about the program, what it's like to work together, ask questions, and decide. Decide, is this your time? Is this for you? So we do have a special bonus happening right now, which is a workshop that you get as well as momentum. It's the Reboot Workshop happening next Saturday, June 29th, 11 to 4. And if you are a type of person like me who likes to just crank it out, sit down and focus for several hours at a time, this would be a perfect start for momentum for you. So we do start the program July 2nd, next Tuesday. And this Thursday is the time to get in on an interest call. So you're like, how do I sign up for the interest call? Well, I'm going to send you the guide that I just shared with you when you type the word momentum. So type the word momentum if you want a copy of that guide that I was just showing you. There's a little bit more to it at the end. And it has a button. There's a button for you to pick your interest call, whether you want to do the 1 o'clock, the 2 o'clock. Maybe neither of those times works for you and you just want to DM and ask me a couple questions, then that would be okay too. I really want to encourage you to come to one of those calls. There are some details I want to talk to you about and show you so that you have a really good idea of what you would be getting into. And you can make the best decision for you, if this is right for you and if it's right for you right now. So I'm hoping this was helpful to you. I would love to hear, out of the 5 dials that I talked about, which one do you feel like is a little bit of an eye-opener for you? Is it the dreams and the fears? Is it the niche? Ooh, that's cool. Getting distracted. Is it the pricing? Is it the sales? Or is it the visibility? Which one for you? Okay. So I hope this was helpful today. If you want this guide, type the word momentum. I'll reach out to you. It'll have the info to get in on an interest call happening Thursday. And we can start the conversation and go from there. So I hope you have an amazing evening. I'm going to have an amazing evening. I'm going to go get some sunshine. I'm looking at the squirrels out my window. I love a good squirrel watching session. So I might just go do that. It's been a busy weekend, so I'm going to go enjoy that. I'll see y'all next week. Monday, I'm restarting our Rockstars Unplugged live streams after a little bit of a summer vacay. So look forward to seeing y'all then. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.